Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Upshift podcast, the podcast all about Formula Racing. Today, I am joined by a very special guest again, YouTuber Josh Revell. Josh, how are you doing today?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. Yeah, it's a bit of a interesting race we had on, wasn't it?
There was drama immediately in the very first lap with Alex Albon and Kevin Magnussen. Their crash in the last turn, I believe. Personally, I thought it was a bit of a racing incident, to be honest. I think it was a bit like Brazil with Albon and Hamilton, where Magnussen went wide and then cut into the apex, and Albon tried to go for that gap, which there was a gap, and I don't think Albon really deserved that penalty. What did you think about it?
You know, the thing is that hindsight is 20/20. You know, like it's easy to look at this from your couch and say, you know, he should have done this and he should have done that. You know, anyone who's sort of really raced anything, really, like, you're conscious of the fact that, if Magnussen did hit that sausage curb in the corner and it bolted him wide and he lost speed and blah blah blah. When you lose speed like that, you instinctively do look in your mirrors because you know that there's going to be someone, especially at the end of the first lap, who's going to be right on you. But we know Magnussen's pretty aggressive in his driving.
To say the least.
And that probably, and that probably came out to shine. He probably looked at Alex and thought, "Suck my balls, mate." Like not having a bar of it, eh? But yeah, the thing is, it comes down to looking at this from two perspectives. It's looking at it from the perspective of the passing driver, or looking at it from, the one who got punted off. And in this case, I don't really think you can blame either party wholeheartedly on it. People say, "Oh, there's got to be someone to blame." Well, not necessarily. Sometimes shit happens in motorsport. Sorry if I'm not allowed to swear. But I think again, we look at this from the safety of our couches, and we can easily say, "Oh, he shouldn't have gone for the gap." Well, we're saying he shouldn't have gone for the gap because there was an accident. If there was no accident, we would have said, "Very opportunistic move. Good to see you going for the gap." Probably, arguably, Magnussen should have been a little bit more sort of conscious of what was around him. But then there'll also be other people who will say he, shouldn't have gone for the gap, even though he was almost virtually completely alongside him before they even got to the corner. So it's 6-1, half dozen of the other, really. And, I don't really like taking sides on this issue. I'll just say racing incident, pretty much. And I'm waiting for the one Alex Albon and one Magnussen fan that'll come in, to my DMs and say, no, you're wrong, you don't know anything. Yeah, that's how this all ended up, won't it?
I'm actually a really big Albon fan, as listeners might know. But I don't think I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but I do genuinely believe that Alex did not deserve that penalty. Like you said, it was a racing incident. It was kind of a 50-50 thing. I think I just don't think that he deserved a 5-second penalty. Maybe he deserved a penalty, but they issue 3-second penalties, I'm pretty sure. Or something a bit.
They did 3-second penalties for I'm thinking place penalties here. I'm not sure about the penalties in regards to sort of seconds added, but I think in this case, Magnussen was out of the race, and a 5-second penalty really, the punishment, even if Alex was in the wrong, punishment doesn't fit the crime. 5 seconds. What? He's still, Gunther Steiner's probably like, 5 second penalty. Why he's still in the race. He'll argue that is no good, and on Alex's part, it ruined his race. So it's a bit of a weird penalty to dish out, but overall, let's say Alex is in the wrong. How do you penalise him? I think you do something like what they do in rugby league over in Australia, where basically, if you do something wrong, you're put on report. So basically, the officials look at it afterwards, and if you do this enough times, then you're given a reprimand, a freaking ban, or whatever. But basically, you do things to fit the crime, but you don't ruin the spectacle that's going on and ruin things for the spectators. If Albon didn't have that 5-second penalty, I don't know where he would have ended up. But I don't think really a 5-second penalty really did any favours to either Haas or Albon. So, no. But it's Formula 1 and the FIA, isn't it? So we'll still have these going around. I mean, hey, screw logic at the end of the day.
Yeah. Sticking with Alex Albon, there's a lot of talk around him losing his Red Bull seat, with obviously him qualifying in P12 and getting knocked out in Q2. Do you think that Albon his seat is at risk? Because personally, I don't think he is that much at risk. I think if they had better drivers at AlphaTauri, he would be more at risk. Obviously, Pierre is talented and Kvyat is talented as well, but I don't think they're. I don't want to say they're not really worthy of.
Go on. So say what you want to say, eh?
Yeah.
They're crap. Alex Albon for the win. And how we got that.
I just don't think that they're Red Bull worthy. I don't think they can cope.
You don't think they're going to add any more to Red Bull than what Albon is, basically?
I don't think that they coped with the pressure of Red Bull as well as Albon is doing. But if they had...
I don't think anyone has. Even Verstappen. Like, Red Bull just are horrible when it comes to managing their drivers. And they've had a long history of that. The only time sort of things worked in harmony was David Coulthard and Christian Klein. But, I mean... Like, again, they've got a history of their drivers just not freaking, working in harmony. Ideally, then, or working in harmony, or both sort of getting on with their jobs. I reckon Albon's got what it takes to be the sufficient sort of second driver for Red Bull. But I keep on saying this. It looks as bad as it does, I think, because Max is such a hard act to follow. Mm-hmm. That's something that I think a lot of people sort of forget here, of who his teammate is. Now, it's easy to, look good against the likes of... Now, I'm not taking the mickey out of him, but Lance Stroll, because Lance is a good driver. He's just not one of the best on the grid, arguably. But, I mean, Max has got a lot of freaking raw talent, and in my personal opinion, this is an opinion, people, okay? I'm not saying this is fact. Max is this generation's Ayrton Senna in terms of raw pace and the following he has and just sort of a lot of traits about him. So, again, that's a very hard act to follow. But again, 4/10ths off in every single sort of qualifying session, race session, whatever. It's a big gap. Yeah. It's a big gulf. So you analyse who are the potential replacements. Let's say Marco uses his one good remaining eye and says, Albon, you're gone. Who do you put in there? This is what I've been saying to people. It's just like, who do you put in there? Let's be realistic here for a moment. Vettel's going over to race Aston Martin, next year. That's a given.
Yeah. Which is sad to see.
So you could potentially draft Perez out of there, and Perez would be decent. I think, because he's not the same as he was in McLaren, and I think, drivers change. Hamilton's not the same as he was in 2011. Perez is not the same as he was in 2013. I think you're definitely going to get a driver in there who's going to actually do the business. I also recommend a Kimi Räikkönen. 1 year in that Red Bull seat, he'll do as he's told. As long as you supply him with enough ice cream and vodka, he'll be that sufficient second driver, and he'll just get it to the finish and achieve the good results. And of course, you just need that 1 year. You realistically just need 1 year. I'm sure he'll be fine with a 1 year contract, end on a high, he'll go off into retirement, and by that stage you pick who is better, Gasly or
Kvyat.
Albon.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Albon.
But you know, I think Albon and Gasly have got to sort of be, you know, worried here. I mean, Kvyat I think is gone, and a couple of reasons is because Marco doesn't have drivers hang around for too often, but also how he acted at Silverstone. We've seen that before with drivers like Bueme and Aldaswari. You know, drivers that are notably under pressure reacting, you know, that way. And, you know, they'll be looking to draft in someone. I don't think anybody in that junior program right now is ready, you know. And when I say they're not ready, I'm talking about in sort of any regard, whether it's super license points or ability or consistency or whatever. Kamara, you know, he's been drafted in. To be honest, I don't understand that. He's definitely a good driver. I'm not sure, because if we're talking about someone who's going to be a better driver overall than Gasly and Albon, and I'm not seeing Kamara being that driver. Vips, he's not going to get the super license points this year because he's, you know, super formula is not going to happen for him because of the travel restrictions going into Japan. And he's in Formula Regional Europe, where even though that's friggin' a cakewalk from in any regard, he's still struggling there. Liam Lawson does have the super license points as far as I'm aware, and he'll probably get a bit more this year for it, but even though he's a Kiwi, and even though I like him, I think he needs to be a little bit more headstrong before he gets into Formula 1, because I think he sort of crumples a little bit easily. Even though he's done some really freaking good moves and all that kind of stuff. Igor Fraga's having a freaking disaster. But, you know, give him 1 or 2 years, I reckon he could be a good option. But, you know, we're in the now. And also, Yuki Tsunoda, he's got an ultimatum of 4th or better this year in Formula 2. Again, I can't see that happening because, I mean, those Carlin cars do, you know, where they are on the grid depends upon the mood of the cars and the team. So, you know, Red Bull are stuck, you know, with their drivers. The only viable option I actually see outside of this is if they hire Dan Ticktum, you know, because everyone's big problem with Dan Ticktum was that of his attitude. But, you know, after I made those 2 videos, I spoke to him about, you know, what happened. And it seems as though he does know what he did wrong. And you can see that now he's improved. And Marco's probably going to look at that and say, okay, let's give him a second chance. Because Marco's been giving second chances to drivers such as Albon, Kamara, Hartley. Even though it was a mistake with Hartley, he was too slow. But, I mean, still, you know, it wouldn't be a surprise if Ticktum does get it. I've been talking too long.
It's
sorry.
fine.
But, yeah, overall point is that Red Bull are a bit stuck at the moment with the driver options. I think the best option at the moment is to let the year play out. Let's see how Albon does. If he can get closer, if he can gain his confidence back, then that's fantastic. But if they feel Gasly is a better option, then promote him. But this chopping and changing stuff has gotten Red Bull nowhere so far, and it's going to get them nowhere still if they try and pull it off again in this year. So, yeah.
People are saying
that's basically it.
People are saying that they should draft in Gasly in place of Albon again.
I'm
it's fine.
really sorry for interrupting. Problem with Gasly is that he's always been a very inconsistent driver.
Exactly.
He's very fast.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But one result he gets 4th in the Toro Rosso, and the next one he's buried in the midfield. Or he's retiring through a stupid accident. You know? He's definitely got the pace. Don't get me wrong. When it comes to raw pace, I probably think he's actually better than Albon. But in terms of results and consistency and going for the gaps, Albon is better. I think really they've just got to sort of suss things out with Albon in regards to confidence, getting up to speed, probably looking to sort of get that car worked out. Because, yeah, he spun in free practice too, was it? But Max has spun in that car as well. Yeah. I mean, the car's just not that great this year. When I say not that great, I mean, like, it does look unstable.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there is a bit of ways that Red Bull need to go with the car and driver development. I'll use the phrase, the hat's over the wall. right now they need to go and get the hat here. And in this case, they've got Albon on that seat. They know what the situation is. They can't hide behind, driver changes, which is what they did before in the past. They haven't got the depth that they used to. They've got to suss this out through, working with their drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Talking about Gasly, people are saying they should draft him in. Gasly, when he was at Red Bull, he didn't cope well with the pressure, like we talked about earlier. He just never seemed to have that confidence he had in 2018, last year with Red Bull, because he just in Drive. Have you watched Drive to Survive yet, or have you not?
Of course, both seasons, of course.
Yeah,
and of course that's where we all got introduced to the Gunther Steiner accent. Yeah. He's just where we all try and do that. Hello, my name is Gunther Steiner, and welcome to Drive to Survive. Just the most fun accent ever. But I did watch that. I can't remember the part with Gasly though, if I'm really honest.
Yeah, Christian Horner said that he doesn't drive on instinct like you're supposed to. Not like fully on instinct, but you're supposed to drive how you drive, and Pierre overanalyzed how he drive and try to compare himself to Max. Obviously, Alex probably does that, but not at the same rate, I guess, because it didn't seem like Pierre had any confidence in himself, because like you said, he wouldn't go for those gaps that were clearly there. He would be passive aggressive and just not overtake anybody when he needed to. And like last time you were on, you said Gasly last year got lapped by Verstappen in Austria, and I definitely think that.
And there was no sort of there was no problem for Gasly there either. It was just lack of pace, which was that's alarming. To be lapped in the same car due to the lack of pace is a big red flag. You cannot afford that.
I really do like Gasly. I'm not trying to say I hate Gasly and he's the worst driver, but I do like Gasly, but I just don't think that he is the right guy. I think he's more comfortable in Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, sorry. It was a bit weird because he kind of achieved the same sort of results, like an average result last year when he was in Red Bull. He had the same average results in Toro Rosso as well. So it seems like he's more comfortable in a midfield team fighting for midfield points and not fighting Lewis and Valtteri for wins. So I definitely think Alex is the right guy. But if he steps up his performance in Saturday in qualifying, because I definitely think he has the race pace. It definitely showed in Hungary last week, or 2 weeks ago, that he fought from 13th to 5th.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a good recovery stint. I mean, apart from everything else, the last half of the race, I thought Albon did pretty decently. However, he really shouldn't have been in that situation, though. I mean, Gasly, again, I'll say, like, even before Formula 1, the only problem I had with him was that he was inconsistent. As I said, like one race he'd pass the checkered flag and he'd be 1,000 miles ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. And then the next race he'll be in the freaking gravel trap. It's just that sort of inconsistency that you'd see with him. And again, at Toro Rosso, the occasional good result, but then the other one he'd be fighting with Brendan Hartley or whatever. It was just inconsistency all around, and I feel he's getting on top of that. But it also highlighted the issue that Red Bull had where they were rushing these drivers in, and they're still trying to rush them in now. Which is why I think, look, if Albon is on the mend, you want to nurture that. You don't want to sort of have a false pretense of, he's ready, and then chuck him in, because I don't think that's going to work. It didn't work then, I don't think it's going to work now. So, I think let the year play out and judge effectively who is the more consistent, faster driver, and then you pick him for the Red Bull seat next year. Easy. Meanwhile, Kvyat's down the road to Ferrari again as a test driver because, well, Marco's given the heave-ho.
Yeah. Moving on and sticking with Daniel Kvyat, he had a really big crash in the Grand Prix, and he showed his anger by shoving the cameraman, his camera down, and I'm pretty sure he's angry because it's a massive crash, but he said that he was changing something on his steering wheel and the red curb caught him out, and the wind, all the factors played in, and he spun and hit the wall. That caused a safety car and bunched up the field. Moving on I just want to ask you, who was your driver of the day?
Romain Grosjean. No way. No way, not after that performance. That performance just further vindicated people who just think that he probably should not be in that house seat anymore. Driver of the day. That's tricky. There were a lot of people that were actually pretty good there. You'd probably say Lewis Hamilton, but, I mean, the car was sort of just on it all freaking day. That Merc is so dominant that it's... No, I jokingly said, they really need to start these Mercs in Ireland next time just to make it closer. Because 1.1 seconds to the nearest car in qualifying is just it's just stupid. It's ridiculous amounts of competitiveness or lack thereof. I think really you've got to look at someone like Charles Leclerc. How is he getting podiums with that Ferrari? Yeah. That is sort of like a Herculean effort. Seb's having a freaking... I don't know. I think he's probably just thrown in the towel and just gone, oh, well, I can't wait for this Aston seat. Daniel Ricciardo, I thought, had a very good run. I'm not sure what happened with Stroll. Free practice 2 is free practice 2. So when he got fastest in that, I'm like, meh. I'm not me being a dick. It's just free practice 2. It's just a practice result. Yeah. But even so, with how the cars are, you would have expected them to be competitive in the race. But it just wasn't. That car... I don't know whether it was the car or whether it was him. We don't know because Hulk didn't go into the race. But he defended well, I thought. Gasly definitely had a good race. So I think I'd probably edge this one toward Leclerc. Yeah. But close second would go to Gasly, I think, and Ricciardo it definitely deserves some good praise because I thought this would be a closer battle this year between himself and Ocon. But he seems to be leaving Ocon in the dirt a little bit, which is, very surprising, if I'm perfectly honest.
I agree with you. Leclerc is the driver of the day. But I think it's a close tie between him and Alex. But because Alex, it was 10 laps to go and he had to gain 15 seconds to get in the points, and he did it. He gained 15 seconds in 10 laps, which was unbelievable to see. And getting that fastest lap and having the strategy to go on the mediums, that was really impressive to me. But Charles Leclerc, to get essentially a boat with a hole in it and try to go on a lake, it's the Ferrari is just really, really bad this year. And to get it on the podium not once, twice now is so impressive. That's how he's amazing.
The standings.
I believe he is fifth. Because he just... he's fifth. He passed Alex. Right now, I'm pretty sure.
Fifth behind Lando. How is Lando still in fourth place?
He's doing amazing as well, Lando.
My word. And Lewis is 30 points ahead.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to see that there's no competition between anybody.
What's worse is we got this again next year. Oh boy, it's so depressing being a Formula 1 fan.
But he does deserve what he has because he is a 7-time world champion. And a bunch of people say put him in a Williams and he wouldn't win. Of course he wouldn't. Yeah,
no one would win.
Senna wouldn't win in that car. It's just bad. Put him in any car, he would. Any one of the 3 bottom teams, Haas, Alpha, and Williams, he's not going to win. But obviously, yeah.
And at the end of the day, again, I'm really sorry for
it's fine, man.
I'm a dick. All my haters are right. Josh Revell is an asshole. I was like, yeah, I know. But yeah, you look at his teammates. You know, he had the measure of them for most of his career. 2011 was a freaking disaster of a year. He really wasn't in the right headspace, and that year Button was the better driver. But apart from that, and 2016 obviously, but you know, I hear a lot of people say, you know, his teammates were crap. Nico Rosberg and Valtteri Bottas are not that good. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Rosberg's a world champion.
Like, Nico Rosberg has to be one of the most criminally underrated drivers in the past few years. Like, I think a lot of people look at the situation really harshly because, he's got the best car and whatever. Nico's always been a good driver. He finally got the best car on the grid, but just so happened to be up against Lewis Hamilton. But, you know, having those 2 drivers there, they always got the results. Valtteri is almost as fast as Nico, but his problem is that he doesn't quite have in my opinion, the killer instinct that Nico had, especially in his last year of racing. That last year of racing, Nico got the measure of Lewis throughout most of the championship. And by the time that, you know, by the Malaysian Grand Prix, it was pretty much like Nico just had to get it, you know, to the line basically, and that's what he did. You know, there's not a huge secret behind how you beat Lewis Hamilton. You've got to get the jump on him. You have to have the measure of him from the get-go. Valtteri doesn't have that. He's 30 points behind now. He's not going to eclipse that. Championship's over. 7th title's going to be in the bags. And, you know, if you have a driver that has that type of advantage where, you know, if you don't put the boot into the neck immediately, then you're not going to beat him, then that's someone you have to say is worthy of being a world champion. So, you know, at the end of the day, you can argue with it all you want, but, you know, he's got those trophies in his cabinet, and he's laughing to the bank at the end of the day. So, I'm not really sure how we ended up here. what we were originally sort of going on about.
I don't remember. I'll be honest.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But sticking with you, I think Valtteri, this is his chance to win the world title. I think this is his perfect.
I think it's gone.
Yeah, it's more than likely gone, but I think it's the perfect chance for him to win the world title because no Ferrari, Red Bull's not gonna threaten you. It's only Bottas and Hamilton are in this championship fight, and Mercedes gone. They're winning the constructors, no doubt about it. This is his one chance. I feel like not one chance. That's a bit disrespectful, to be honest. I think this is a perfect chance for him to challenge that title, but he just needs to get momentum and find his rhythm and just go after Lewis. That's all he has to do. Unfortunately, yesterday, he did have that tire failure and a puncture. Both Mercedes had tire failure, and those last few laps were crazy, but we'll talk about that later. But obviously Valtteri had that tire failure, and he did finish out of the points, I think 11th or 12th or something like that.
Yeah, 11th. He couldn't get past Seb, and that was it's got to be a bit demoralising. You can't get past that Ferrari on fresh tyres in a Mercedes. That's a little bit But you got to lend kudos to Seb for that, to defend that. That's pretty much like Herculean effort on his part.
Yeah, but hopefully Bottas does challenge Lewis for the title, but I do, like you said, I think Lewis has run away with it already, which is a bit not unfortunate. I don't want to say that. I keep messing up this bit, but it's a bit weird to see someone win all these titles in a row, but it is very impressive. Now we're moving on to someone you mentioned earlier, Romain Grosjean, one of the best drivers of all time.
Oh, yeah.
His some of the worst defending I have ever seen in my life. That it's actually the second. Obviously, Mahavir takes the cake on that one.
my boy, don't you mock my boy.
But Grosjean did have a good race. Actually, not really a good race, but he had a good first 15 laps defending that P5 good, and then reality hit them, and he realized he was in a Haas still, and and he dropped down to 17th, and a radio message came on and said he was giving it 100% of everything, and he finished just like 3 seconds behind 16th place. So just it's garbage. The Haas is really bad.
I mean, I think it was a very, very bold decision by Haas. Really?
Yeah, to not pit him.
You know, well, they said, you know, we need to try something, but you know, at the end of the day, I like Grosjean. I think that 2013 to 2015, he was a driver that, you know, I highly regarded. Even 2016. But I don't know, like, and people will say, "Oh, he's in a Haas." I don't care if he's in a Haas. Magnussen's in a Haas too. He's proving his worth. Like, you know that he's driving beyond the boundaries of what that car can deliver. Grosjean's not doing that, and it's unfortunate. And of course, you know, we hear the whinging on the radio all the time, and Steiner's losing more here by the minute. But you know, Haas themselves have got a lot to answer for here. They, you know, the last 3 years are the same set of results. They can't keep this up, and at some stage they've got to look at their team holistically and say, okay, what's the problem here? I think part of it is down to drivers. Magnussen's got talent to burn, but sometimes he lets himself down through mistakes he makes and whatever. But you can cope with that because it's not that often, and he more or less makes up with it for his talent. So I'd definitely keep him in the seat. But Romain, I think, is not the same driver as he used to be, which is unfortunate. However, I look at this pretty much black and white. You're either performing or you're not. And in this case, he's just not performing. So who do you put in there? American team. I think, you know, they should be looking to try and get investment from their home nation, because it's going to. It would obviously be a lot easier to get investment from American sponsors and companies if you yourself are an American outfit. And you'd say, okay, well, who's fit for Formula One then? Two drivers come to mind. Two American drivers come to mind. Joseph Newgarden and Alexander Rossi. You know, and Rossi's got that previous experience, and I thought that he was the most promising American driver I'd seen for a while when it came to Formula One. Joseph Newgarden's freaking dominating in IndyCar, apart from Scott Dixon and so forth. But you know, they'd be very, very good fits for the team. They'd, you know, attract interest from American sponsors, and that'd be great. Otherwise, if you can't really, do either of them, I would say look toward Indonesia and go sign up with Sean Belial. It's just, I mean, if they badly need the KFC money, if that's the case. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, Grosjean is driving like he's on borrowed time at the moment. And I think that's exactly what he's on. I really do think Haas probably they really need to sort of have a look here at Grosjean and think, is he the driver that Haas needs right now? My answer to that is no. And his driving this weekend did not help.
Like you said, I think that they should also turn to American drivers, kind of. This person I'm about to mention isn't American, but he's competing in America. Marcus Ericsson, he's doing decently well in IndyCar. right now, and he has prior Formula One experience, and he's not an amazing driver, but he is dependable. He's very consistent in getting points usually. I'm stuttering a lot.
I don't know. Like, I think, I mean, I was a bit alarmed with Ericsson when he got out qualified by Andrea Lotterer in Lotterer's first ever race. But I think, if Haas do need that experienced driver, snap up Sergio Perez.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think because they do need an experienced driver to sort of get themselves back into the mold. Perez, he flourishes in midfield teams and lesser machinery. He tends to do that. He gets on podiums in cars that don't deserve to be there.
In 2018.
So he'd be a good fit for sure.
Yeah, in 2018 he got on the podium, right, with Force India, Azerbaijan. I'm pretty sure. Third or fourth.
I think it
or
was.
something like that, yeah.
I think he's got 2 podiums at Azerbaijan. I'm not sure about that. But he's had a podium in most of his seasons in Formula One, even with the machineries he's had, which is impressive, to say the least. So they could definitely do with someone like that. And I think it would actually be a better option for Perez as well, because I wouldn't want to go to Alpha at this stage, because that car looks awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would work out for both parties if they get someone like Perez in there, even if you do have to build a wall in between the first and second car. But still, I think what happens to Haas in the next few months will be sort of critical.
Moving, like you said, they also need to, I think they need to strengthen their junior team, because who they have right now is Enzo Fittipaldi and Louis Delatraz. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was Petra Fittipaldi.
Petra Fittipaldi, yeah.
Enzo's pretty young, mate. But yeah, Petra Fittipaldi and Louis Delatraz, they're very odd. They've had very odd drivers. They previously had Arjun Maini and that headache of a driver, Santino Ferrucci. And now they've got Louis Delatraz and freaking Petra Fittipaldi. They're not bad drivers. None of them are bad drivers, but they're sort of odd selections. Like they're not the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Right now, I think Haas probably do need to sort of if they're not going to go for Perez, they need to start utilizing their links to Ferrari. Because that Ferrari driver academy is freaking loaded.
Yeah.
Like, you've got Robert Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, Marcus Armstrong, Callum Ilott, Giuliano Alesi, if you want a name but not performance. It's just incredible array of drivers that they've got in that program right now, and there are more coming up still. So, Arthur Leclerc as well. So, they probably do need to utilise that a little bit at the moment. If they are going to go for the sort of youth, or if they're going to have any reserve drivers. But this weekend brought up a very interesting sort of subject on reserve drivers. Because Van Dorn is over in Berlin, where he's going to lose another championship, even though he's got fan boost. But the other reserve driver for Mercedes was Esteban Gutierrez, and what I couldn't work out was, why have Mercedes got a reserve driver who doesn't have a super license anymore? I don't understand. Like, it's a very weird thing. I mean, it's fine to have him as a test driver, but when he's not got a super license, that's odd. As far as I'm aware, Louis Delatraz does have a super license, apparently. And I'm not sure about Petro. I mean, Petro's been part of that program for a while now, so surely he's got the super license points. But I mean, still though, they're very weird the drivers to put in there. But with what Haas need right now, I wouldn't put any of them in, to be honest.
Now let's move. We're moving on to we're sticking with Haas. Grosjean still. Like I said before, some of the weirdest defending to say the least. I have seen in Formula One nearly ramming into the front wing of Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz and getting the black and white flag. And it was it was bad.
Yeah,
it was just
yeah.
I don't think. How do you do that? 'Cause I guess he maybe didn't see them, but in the replay he looked in the mirror.
He
Yeah,
saw
and
them.
just turned the wheel.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It was bad. It was just bad to see.
I mean, what you were seeing was a man driving to impress. Like, he was trying his utmost to make sure that the cars stayed behind him. But, you know, it gets to a point where the move is too late, and it was, you know. This reminds me of the stuff that Max Verstappen was doing initially, where he was moving at a point where people weren't going to get past, but it was dangerous.
Yes.
Like, it was stupid. Like, it's a case of you're committed to braking, or you're going into a corner and you've got a mindset of, okay, I'm going to brake sort of about here or there, or I'm going to approach the corner this way, I'm going to do the switchback, or I'm going to, do whatever. You're making your mind up on the way into the corner. It gets to a point where you've made your mind up and you know what you're going to do. But by the time you've committed, you cannot change your approach, because you've got to be sort of aware of what's around you. And so when Ricciardo, for example, there was a time where he was going down the inside. When you're committed to that move and you have someone, shifting in front of you at that time, it is totally jarring from a driver's point of view. You don't expect that kind of stuff, and especially when it's so close. There's a lot of times where, that sort of moving about causes accidents, and that's exactly why there's a rule in place to make sure that people don't do that crap. So, and Grosjean's defending was just, awful. There's no other way to say it. And, I'm surprised he honestly didn't get a black flag, because I've seen lesser sort of incidents given penalties before. But, again, one of those Haas cars are performing, the other one isn't. The other one looks like they're driving on sort of all the wrong instincts, It just, I think there really needs to be a rethink about who's driving that second Haas car.
Yeah, and Grosjean, I think a couple weeks ago, said kind of implied that he wasn't going to stay in F1, saying that he needs to think about everything that has happened and think about how he's a family man. I'm pretty sure he's like a father or something. So it seems like he wants to retire out of Formula One, which is a bit.
You're just going to selling cookbooks, mate. I just love to purchase one of his cookbooks, and if it is true to Romain Grosjean form, half the pages will fall out before you get it delivered. But I mean, like, look, at the end of the day, dude. Speaking seriously and not freaking choking about like I keep on doing. It's a reflex action. But, again, if Roman's heart's not in it, then it's probably not in his best interest, if he is a father, to be running around in circles. Especially with the moves that he's doing, because he's probably not going to see the end of his freaking Formula One career. I think if he is thinking about hanging up his boots, if he's even thinking about that, then probably he's answered his own question. So if I were him, I would say, I'm retiring from Formula One at the end of this year, and so he knows to take the last few races, to the fullest and fulfill his commitments and all that other jargon, and also gives Haas the time and the opportunity to seek out a driver like a Sergio Perez and, basically set them up for the forthcoming year. But, at this point, he's just sort of driving in circles at this point, know?
Now I want to also move on to Renault has protested Racing Point's brake ducts once again.
Oh,
yeah, they
really?
have. Yeah.
What a shock.
Do you think that they should impound their brake ducts, or do you think that they should just stay?
No, I mean, come on. Copying in Formula 1 has been around for ages, you know? And this is a bit of a different thing. It's like saying, I mean, it is a bit like saying, you know, there's always been pay drivers in Formula 1. Yeah, that's true. Lance, though, is a little bit of a different sort of kettle of fish when you boil down everything that's sort of gone on to get him to that stage. It's kind of the case with this, you know? Like, yeah, it's copying, but it's a little bit different this time. This isn't necessarily copying sort of one or two components. This is copying an entire car. And that'll be the argument of a lot of people, is like, this is freaking, you know, how can this be allowed? Look, at the end of the day, it's pretty black and white in my view. Is it legal? By letter of law, is this legal? Yes? Okay. Move on. And probably does it open Pandora's box a little bit, you know? If Renault find out, well, this is all legal, it's like, okay, fine, sweet, cool, ching, 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 get photos of the Mercedes this year and copy the car. You know, like, if this is legal, then let it all rest and put that in the back of your mind and head into 2022 knowing that all bets are off. But yeah, the thing is though, should it be deemed illegal what Racing Point are doing, as far as I'm aware, they're going to appeal it, or even if this is deemed legal, they'll appeal it, and apparently it'll go to, I can't freaking remember, but basically it's going to go to a friggin' point where people who are going to interpret all of this don't have a great understanding of motor racing, and they're not going to look at this in the same way perhaps as the FIA do, and that will most probably spawn a different result. So this is far from over. I think right now we're just seeing trickles of what's going to happen, you know, but this may end up like a Tyrrell situation where they run for half the season with what they've got, and then it turns out they're disqualified. Who knows? Who freaking knows? At this stage, just let things sort of play out and see what happens at the end of the appeal proceedings, because it's gonna go there one way or another. Right now, this is all just sort of a formality. Protest. Wait till it's denied. Okay, appeal it. Then after that appeal, we'll see what happens.
Now we're moving back to the race. That was the last few laps were weird, to say the least.
I guess you can say that.
No, actually, no, they were normal.
Totally normal to have a bloke finishing on three wheels. I was just saying, you know, the W11 has the same number of wins as the P34 Tyrrell with half the wheels. You know, like, the fact that the W11 can win on three wheels, this championship is super uncompetitive.
It was unbelievable. A lot of people saying that if Max did not pit, they would have won. But not Racing Point, oh my god. Red Bull has come out with a statement saying right at the end, Max was really worried about vibrations. We saw Bottas's puncture and we could see the big groove on our tire. So we elected to pit to the soft tire and try to get the fastest lap as well. The tire came off Max's car, actually had a really deep groove when we came into the pits, and we breathed a sigh of relief. So that explains it. To see Bottas having that puncture, definitely I would have pit as well, because it just blew up essentially. Same with Lewis. They just lost it. And
Sainz as well.
I forgot about Sainz. That hurt. to go from P4 to P14 or P13, that hurts, to say the least.
Yeah.
So definitely sorry for him. But no doubt he'll come back stronger than ever, and he will be fighting for those other points. Now we're moving on to Formula 2. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
the funniest part of the entire weekend came when Jehan Deruvala said, quote, can I have an update on the race? When his race engineer replied to him by saying,
oh, you want me to say it? You want me to say it?
Yeah, you say it.
Just fucking drive fast. Thus, yeah, that was weird. That was one of those moments. I remember when, oh god, was it Kamara a few years ago in Monaco was saying, "Oh, I've got no pace," and his engineer came back and basically said, "Just shut up and drive."
Yeah.
It's like,
so
oh
funny.
my word. At some point, the engineers just get buggered off at some stage. Yeah. But yeah, it's a Deruvala. I don't know. I mean, there'll be people who are, probably not going to be happy with what I'm going to say. But he's one of the things that I highlight in the Red Bull program, why I actually sort of am wondering what on earth Marco has got coursing through his head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is he on the same stuff that William Story's on? Because
Bad Santa.
Like, it's very, very odd decisions lately. You look at someone like the Mercedes driver program, junior program. They've got 4 current drivers and 2 former drivers. Those 2 former drivers are Esteban Ocon and Pascal Wehrlein, and that's pretty impressive. We know where they are right now. The 4 current ones is George Russell. We obviously know where he is. There's Paul Aaron. He's doing very, very well in junior formula right now. They've got Antonelli in karting. He's cleaning up the European scene. And they got a 12-year-old Jamaican, Alex Powell, who is, the wonder kid really for Jamaican racing alongside, how have I forgotten his name? Fraser McDonnell in Rallycross. So there's, that's a very sort of concise, well-constructed junior program. But Red Bull is all over the place. And with Deruvala, they announced his signing at the end of the year, and I was like, why? I don't understand why they're hiring him. Like, it's very freaking odd signing. I mean, I know he did well last year in Formula 3, but he's kind of been living in Formula 3 for a while. It's like, you put him in the realms of someone like Guang Yu Zhou, where he's got talent. The question is he going to get to Formula 1? I don't honestly see that being the case for either Zhou or Deruvala. I mean, they're very, very good drivers, but you have to sort of keep in mind, like, okay, we want the best of the best.
Yeah.
And I think really at the moment, what do Red Bull want? Do they want, the best of the best, or are they just signing all this talent and just saying, well, let's see how he does this season? And right now in Carlin, Deruvala is getting a bit swallowed up. He had a good last race, but out of the 2 with Tsunoda and Deruvala, Tsunoda probably has the edge this year so far. And Honda want to push him through, so I'm not really sure what they're getting at by signing Deruvala here. Especially when, you look further down in their program and they've got 300 other drivers there. So, very, very freaking weird stuff that they're doing in the junior program. But, yeah, nah. Their reject did pretty well this weekend.
Yeah, like you said, Nikita Mazepin won the first feature race, and he did pretty well.
That was a shock from hell. Like, I mean, I saw the pace in qualifying. I was like, okay, probably a bit of a weird qualifying. And then he just ran away in the race. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on here? What am I seeing on my TV screen right now? Well, I don't watch TV. I watch it on the laptop. But still, no, what am I watching here? Like, yeah, very odd sort of turn of pace from Mazepin. But I mean, hey, kudos to him. He's not doing so bad. He's not doing too bad so far. I think he's relatively competitively placed in the championship. Was he like 3rd or 4th so far?
I will check. I don't know.
All good.
Intermission.
Intermission. Play the elevator music here.
God, there we go. Standings. He's 4th right now at the moment.
There we go.
So he's doing pretty well for himself. Because he didn't get a win last year, did he? I'm pretty sure he didn't.
I don't know, but he's doing better than Giotto so far. That's a bit of a surprise, though.
Giotto's doing...
Although Giotto's having one of those seasons where he's just like, why am I even bothering?
Yeah.
Well, let's just go do GTs. Mick Schumacher had a decent weekend, though, in that first race, but I was surprised to see him get effectively burned by Mazepin, though. That was a bit strange.
Yeah. And now moving on to Dan Ticktum. He won his first ever Formula 2 race. We're happy for Dan Ticktum. Good job by him to have that pace to fight everyone behind him. What did you think of his performance?
I think it's reflective of what he's like as a driver, you know. And I remember at the start of this year, there were people that were questioning, you know, him going to dams. But, you know...
I'll admit I was one of them.
As I said...
I was one of those people. I'll be honest. I was like...
I mean, like... I say that, you know, the best talent should be racing, you know? And I see Dan as being Formula 1 worthy. Personally, I just see that being the case. But I'm sad that he needs to sort himself out when it comes to PR and all this stuff, because he's sort of made himself a bit of an enemy, you know, in the eyes of a lot of people. But, you know, the thing is, after I did those 2 videos on him, I got a message. I was like, Dan Ticktum sent you a message on Instagram. I'm like, oh crap. Because I didn't know what to expect. You know, I did a video basically detailing how he needs to sort out his PR, and now I'm getting a message from him. But, you know, he said, you know, he knows that he made life difficult for himself, and he knows what he's going to do from here. And you don't get a lot of people who are very self-conscious about their own shortcomings, especially in motor racing where egos run high. So, you know, the fact that he admitted that and realised what he's got to do to better himself as a driver and so forth, I think is awesome. And he claimed that, you know, he was misunderstood, and, you know, honestly, I'm beginning to see that more and more, you know. So at the end of the day, as long as he sorts himself out PR-wise and, you know, makes sure that he doesn't say anything that can be detrimental toward himself or the team, and you look at himself, and you look at him just as a driver, he's pretty special behind the wheel. And I'm glad that the win came, because I think some people are starting to realise that when this guy can, you know, put his money where his mouth is, that he's got the talent. Granted, his teammate is Sean Galal, and that's kind of, you know, shooting fish in a barrel. But still, though, very, very happy for Dan this time round. And, yeah, I think he's 5th at the moment in the championship, so very handily placed.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. I'm definitely excited to see how he performs in the coming weeks. We're staying in Britain. I'm American. I can't really pronounce it. And it's his home track, and I think that'll give him a confidence boost. And I think he can definitely win next week, or this week. Sorry. We'll move on to Formula 3.
You're confusing me, man.
Yeah.
Time zones.
We're moving on to Formula 3, and news actually just came out, I think. Sophia I'm not going to try to pronounce that name.
Flörsch.
Flörsch? Is that how you? Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
Sophia Flourish. Yeah.
Flourish.
Either way, yeah.
Sounds like a.
Let's call her Sophia from now.
That sounds like a German K-pop band. She was just handed a two-time grid penalty. Two-played grid penalty. Yeah.
What for a PR or for her driving? I don't know which one deserves more punishment.
Pretty sure.
I mean, she's just me. I mean, like, honestly, I did rate her as a driver. I kind of still do, but this year's not going well for her so far, and the PR is just not helping matters. I don't know what's gotten into her head lately, but she's very outspoken. Not in a good way, though, because now she's becoming the butt of a lot of jokes. So that probably needs some sorting out. It also doesn't look good when you got Peroni, who's just up there doing very, very well. And it's very easy to look good against Alessio Delita, because Alessio Delita is legitimately Mahavira Gunathan 2.0. I'm horrified at the prospect of Delita getting into Formula 2 next year, but that's going to happen, and you're going to see #Lord Delita next year. But you know, for now, he's in Formula 3. It's very easy to look at. It's very easy to look at against him. It's not good to be on the same sort of end of the field as him, and that's what Sophia is. Meanwhile, Peroni's at the front. So yes, something needs to change with Sophia. So because it's not very good seeing her where she is at the moment. In any aspect.
Yeah, it's a bit weird to see the standings, because 19th to 31st have scored 0 points. No one has scored.
And you look at some of the drivers in there. Igor Fraga, Roman Stanek. Like, these people should not be there. Like, Stanek and Fraga are highly regarded. You know, Fraga was here in New Zealand for the Toyota Racing Series. You know, where we had Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Franco Colapinto, Carl Collette. You know, some very, very good drivers. And Fraga, I mean, I was there for half the races. He freaking walked away. Like, it's one of those sort of things where you can just tell a driver's just good. And this is the case. You know, Fraga is just freaking amazing. And you're seeing that as well, though, in Formula 3, because he'd start down the grid, way down the grid, because the car's got no pace. Like, the Charoux racing system this year is really horrible. But he... Like, you see like him going further and further and further up the grid, so he's definitely got race pace. But yeah, very friggin' odd seeing the standings a little bit at the moment. But my God, are those Premas turned on this year? I mean, they look indomitable, you know? All of them. Sargent, Vesti, and that pastry guy. Piastri. I'm being sick. You know, they're all freaking amazing. And then you're getting outliers such as Jake Hughes, who has got no luck, and Liam Lawson, who is limited in mental fortitude. But, you know, like, it's interesting seeing it play out so far this year.
Obviously, they are the people of the future for Formula 1. So it's definitely good to see people, all these drivers improving and fighting for a spot next year, more likely in Formula 2, and then obviously going into Formula 1. Now I just want to quickly talk about Racing Point moving back to Formula 1, and the entire...
Sorry, my microphone fell down. All good. There we go. I got this boom arm, and I don't know why it just fell out. There we go. So that should be all good. Everything's going wrong so far today.
That's fine. We'll get through this.
Houston, we've sorted it out.
Moving to Racing Point, but generally the entire Mercedes family. I mentioned this in a previous episode. I am a bit worried about Mercedes, their power unit. Yesterday, they just couldn't get it on in Racing Point, so Hülkenberg did not go out. And obviously that created a bunch of memes over Twitter. I don't know if you saw, but like Hulkenberg's chances of winning, and then like Racing Point with a bad key, and then just not working. But but obviously a few weeks ago, there were puffs of smoke coming out of Racing Point's engine. There was puffs of smoke in Hungary coming out of the Williams engine. Nothing right now happening generally with the Works Mercedes team, but it might. But I'm still a bit worried. Like, is that power unit reliable? Is it gonna get you to the start and get you to the finish of every race? Because it doesn't. It seems like it just gives in sometimes for some reason, and I've never seen that before. It just continually puffs out smoke in random moments of practice, qualifying. Sometimes I'm pretty sure in Hungary it was in the race the Williams had a puff of smoke out of their engine. So,
well, it's under power. Like it's on the initial stages of sort of power on throttle. But there were reliability issues in pre-season testing. So, you'd probably have to say that there's something going on there. But, at the end of the day, so far there haven't been a lot of problems during the regular season with really sort of any team. So it's a very hard one to call, in my view, in regards to whether or not Mercedes have indeed got reliability problems. I think really just sometimes stuff happens, Even the more reliable of engine manufacturers, sometimes stuff happens. I mean, we weren't really discussing Mercedes' reliability in 2016 when Hamilton's engine blew itself to pieces in the Malaysian Grand Prix and effectively, really hurt his chances at the championship. We don't really discuss that, but there were times where the Mercedes reliability wasn't great then either. It's a weird thing seeing the smoke coming out of the back of those Mercedes powered cars, but I don't think it's much to do with reliability. If it had to do with reliability, then half those engines would have been in pieces on a hillside in stereo at this point. So I don't think there's too much to be worried about for Mercedes from that aspect.
Now, sticking with Racing Point, obviously we all know the news that Sergio Perez has contracted COVID-19. We all pray that he is okay. They're saying that he's more than likely gonna. He's showing no symptoms, so he might be back for the Spanish Grand Prix, or I don't think so.
Ideally you want to leave about sort of 2 weeks. I think realistically we're going to see him back by the Belgian Grand Prix, or we may not see him back at all. It is the worst kept secret in the whole friggin' paddock that Sebastian Vettel was going over to freaking Aston. And at this point, I wonder if Perez is thinking, why the hell should I drive for you guys? Let me go on gardening leave, pay out my contract, pay my sponsors, pay the tens of millions of dollars to go and hire. I'm not going to say what I think about Sebastian here, but hire him.
It's fine if you say it, man.
And keep, no, because other people are going to listen to this, and I'm going to get some unsubscribes. I do think a certain thing about Sebastian here, but just know that I don't think he's a bad driver, or that his world championships mean nothing. That's definitely not what I think. Definitely not what I think. Don't take the wrong way. So, in any case, it's a bit of a sticky situation at Racing Point at the moment. And I think really, I don't know if Perez will. I don't know when he'll come back. But earliest, I'd say Belgian Grand Prix. At the earliest, but we're just gonna have to see, really, I suppose. And of course, wish him all the best, and also kind of wish Hulkenberg all the best as well, because Yeah, no, I mean, people were saying podium, podium, podium. I'm like, no. No. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Does he have the ability to get a podium? Yeah, he does. Without question, he is a podium-worthy talent. However, this weekend, it wasn't going to happen. Unless big circumstance. Because the thing is that with he's up against Stroll, who is not a bad driver per se, he's just not a great driver. However, he was most probably, and he honestly was, behind Stroll through that weekend. And if Stroll wasn't going to get a podium, Hulkenberg wasn't going to get a podium either. So I think really relative to, he's going to be compared relative to Stroll, obviously, because he's in the same car. And I don't know, because the Racing Point looked good in some parts of the weekend, but overall, it's not as strong as what we thought it was. And I highly doubt that it's going to get a podium this week. But we'll see how it goes in Spain, actually, because in Spain the car was really competitive. Yeah. But even so, I don't think he's going to get ahead of Stroll in over the next few weekends. Well, I could be wrong. But if I am wrong, that's a problem, because if Hulkenberg can just jump in and go faster than Stroll within a matter of, effectively days, what does that say about Stroll? I mean, that is he really is sort of fighting. He's driving for credibility here, Stroll. And as I said before in the past, last 3 years weren't good enough, and my stance doesn't change on that. I still don't think the last 3 years were good enough, but let's see how the season plays out, and if he can beat the likes of Hulkenberg and Perez or whoever is in that seat, and that other Racing Point seat, if he can be at least competitive against the likes of Perez, and if he can beat Hulkenberg, then you'd have to say, yeah, okay, fine, he deserves to be in Formula 1. But again, if Hulkenberg starts beating him next weekend, then we have to call into question, okay, well, what's going on here? But yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he does well, because I'm not the biggest fan of Lance Stroll, but I do think he deserves a chance to prove himself that he is worth to be in Formula 1. Sticking with Racing Point for a little bit as we wrap up the show. Yeah, it's been an hour and 12 minutes. They were apparently Sebastian Vettel and the
Otmar Snell. Yeah. Apparently, Vettel and Snow got in the same car
and had
after the race.
Dinner or something. It probably means that he's gonna go, but it might mean that he isn't. We don't know.
It might be, but that they're in the sort of final stages of negotiation for all we know. I mean, we don't know. But it's the worst kept secret in Formula 1, really. Yeah, I think they are in the final stages of negotiation. At least the final stages of negotiation. I personally think that by now the dotted line has been signed. But yeah, they had that, and it was also did the the elbow bump with Lawrence Stroll. So yeah, a lot of engagement there in that in that regard. It's like seemed to be a bit peas in the pod lately.
Well, I just searched up the team principal's name, Otmar Zizafnauer.
Yep, Otmar Sniffer.
Ofner Sniffer. All right. So we have offended about the entirety of F1 community. We've offended so many people.
Offended everyone in the history of Romania, mate. Like, is that even a Romanian name? For God's sake! Now I'm gonna be blasting off everyone.
So we've.
Why did I put an Otmar?
So we've.
Safnauer. Otmar Safnauer. I'm gonna have a stroke in a second. No. Yeah. So he's Romanian. But
so we just angered the entirety of Romania and Indonesia. Wonderful.
No, you just wait till the Sean Galal video comes out. Then all of a sudden, I'm just going to be blacklisted from that country.
Sorry, Grandma. Oh God, my family's going to disown me. Now we have come to the end of the show. Josh, do you want to say anything else as we wrap it up? Do you want to mention anything else?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Again, guys, go subscribe to Josh on YouTube at Josh Revell. It will be linked in the description of the YouTube video and wherever you get the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at UpshiftF1. Follow me on Twitter at the Upshift Podcast. Follow Josh on Instagram and Twitter at Josh Revell YT, I believe, right? Sorry if I got this wrong. Yeah.
YT, yep. No, you got it right. You got it right.
I was about to punch myself. I hope you guys all stay safe in the time of quarantine. Wear your masks, and thank you guys for listening. Consider sharing with friends and family, and enjoy your day. Goodbye.